Welcome, everyone, to the Cam and Joe Show. I'm Joseph Landolfi along with Cam Bill. We're here today for the sports radio talk about everything going on this season, specifically in the month of July right now. We have the NBA offseason, the NFL training camps about to be underway, and the MLB season is right about at the halfway point. So we will be releasing episodes every Friday around 2:30. Most of them will be live streamed. Obviously, today will not be. But you will be notified on Instagram about live streams, and you can call in to ask questions, leave comments, or leave your hot takes for us to respond to. So you can follow us on Instagram at Cam and Joe Show. And next week, we will most likely be going live on YouTube. So let's jump right into the NBA offseason, which last Thursday free agency began, along with a bunch of trades that impacted the league. So let's start first and foremost with one of the more recent trades that made big headlines, the Jazz and Timberwolves. The Timberwolves acquiring Rudy Gobert for a big package from the Utah Jazz. So
yeah, I mean, Rudy Gobert is a defensive player of the year. He's going to help the Timberwolves out a lot. And it's just going to be difficult for the Jazz to do anything. They're a rebuilding team, and they got a ton of picks and a few young players, but they also got Patrick Beverley, which,
Patrick Beverley is entering his last year on his contract, and that's one of the main reasons that the Timberwolves got rid of him. I think that could be not a huge significant loss, but he brought a presence into that team.
He was a veteran leader on the Timberwolves, and they desperately needed it because they're a very young team. The problem is when you bring in a veteran, you expect him to have experience in the league, and Patrick Beverley does, but you want the playoff and final experience.
Yeah.
And just to put that team over the edge. Really young, talented team. But if you bring in a veteran point guard like a Rondo who's got the finals experience, the playoff experience, then you might be talking about a new
And
ceiling.
obviously, this past year, they finished as the 7th seed. They gave the Grizzlies a run for their money. Obviously, the Grizzlies a very young and experienced team as well. But one of the reasons that they weren't able to beat the Grizzlies on the glass is mainly because they didn't have that big rebounding presence. Karl-Anthony Towns did what he could, but he was really the only guy. And so I think with this Rudy Gobert, along with helping with the defense, where the Timberwolves were like last in the league in a lot of rebounding and defensive categories, especially in the paint, I think this will give Karl-Anthony Towns a huge assurance.
Yeah, I mean, Naz Reid is the only other big on that team. I don't know if he's been traded in that package. I don't remember. But he was their only other big. He was like a forward, and he's not big enough to just try to grab those rebounds. So them getting a huge defensive-oriented center is the best.
Yeah, I think that's your positives. I think the negatives, along with losing Patrick Beverley, I think a negative for the Timberwolves would be you're still not at that level of Golden State. They're too much of a shooting presence. I still think the Grizzlies could even beat that team. I think a lot of smaller teams are still the talented shooting, pure scoring teams will have the advantage against the Timberwolves. I think that kind of lineup, it's not a very fast lineup.
No.
They're gonna be able to take advantage of a lot of other. They're gonna be taken advantage of because of that type of weakness.
Yeah, I mean, Donovan Mitchell and Anthony Edwards, you can almost think of in the same light.
Mm-hmm.
As the extremely athletic, Donovan Mitchell not so much young right now, but athletic young guards. Anthony Edwards more dynamic. He's longer. He can play better defense. Bigger. Jumps higher. Just overall, at this point, almost a better player.
So let me ask you, who's going to finish as a higher seed? The Timberwolves or the Jazz?
I think it's easily the Timberwolves.
I agree.
There's almost no hope for the Jazz.
I think their current roster, this improves them.
Yeah.
But I think in the future, obviously, this could be a disadvantage of this package, but it also depends on certain veterans and how long Donovan Mitchell stays there.
The Timberwolves do not care about their future at this point, they think their championship window is 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, they're young enough that once they get those 2 to 3 years, do I think they're even conference finals worthy right now? I'd say no.
No.
I take the Clippers over them still.
I take the Clippers.
The Clippers are going to be really good.
Yeah. I wrote that down as being one of the sneaky solid teams, finals contender teams in the West.
Once you see with Paul George, Kawhi Leonard fully healthy,
and then you
disgusting.
don't know quite what you're getting from John Wall.
No.
But now you have John Wall, you have that point guard.
He's a point guard. That's what they need.
They're one of the deepest teams in the NBA at this point.
Yeah. And even last year, like I saw a lot of teams go against the Clippers, and I saw a lot of even these young rookies, second-year players just coming off their bench and putting up really good numbers. Maybe
Terrence
not
Mann.
consistently, but they would do it. They would have these spurts of like really good numbers.
I'm worried about the Timberwolves to see what type of defense they're going to play, because I don't think they could survive in a lineup where they try to funnel everyone into Rudy Gobert, because that just kicks out the shooters. They did that against the Clippers 2 years ago, and Terrence Mann had 30 points almost every night because he was just in the corner.
Yeah.
Every single time.
And with the Clippers now, with that lineup, that would be even worse.
You can't do that.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean that's the main ideas of this Rudy Gobert trade. It's going to be interesting how things shape out west, and to see if any more trades will be executed out there. So let's stick to the idea of the trades, and obviously this has probably been the biggest headline, even though nothing's happened with it yet, is Kevin Durant requesting a trade out of Brooklyn, and many expect Kyrie Irving to also be traded out of Brooklyn. So let's jump right into that, and let's say, what situation does Kevin Durant have? Where is it better for him being on a different team than it already is now, with a team that on paper looks pretty good?
On paper is the huge thing. You can't have a guy as a Boston Celtics fan like Kyrie Irving, who is not a leader at this point. He's absolutely not a leader.
Neither is their coach.
Yeah, Steve Nash is terrible. He's one of the worst head coaches in the league.
Yeah.
If you replace him with any of the top 15 coaches, if you put Mike Budenholzer as the Nets coach, they're in the finals.
You think they'd get past the Celtics?
I think they would, because a mid-tier coach is elevating them. Steve Nash is just a bad coach.
I think that was definitely part of the downfall, was the coaching, the lack of coaching. Not even just experience-wise, I think just they couldn't put it together. Yeah. And even just when they had to trade James Harden away, I mean, I think that was the first piece. And a lot of people thought Kevin Durant would have been satisfied with that, but obviously, as many people critique him as being like a ring chaser and wanting to move on from this, he didn't give it much time. He really didn't. And I mean, I don't know. I don't know if any real place would work out for him. Obviously, his top two destinations are Miami and Phoenix. Maybe he likes the warm weather. I don't know. But, I don't know.
Kevin Durant can't be the only superstar on his team, and that's what he's trying to go for. He wants to be with Devin Booker or Chris Paul in Phoenix, but Brooklyn's already said that they want 2-star caliber players. That might be Ayton, but they want Devin Booker.
I think they'd have to include Ayton.
Brooklyn wants Devin Booker, and that's not happening. Phoenix isn't doing that.
No,
Miami could pull off a weird package, but
Miami, I think, would have to give up Bam.
They'd have to give up Bam because KD would want to play with Jimmy.
And does Jimmy Butler, Kevin Durant without Bam Adebayo really scare you?
It does, because it's Kevin Durant and Jimmy Butler in the playoffs.
Yeah, but
they
might have to give up Tyler Hero too.
I don't care about Tyler Hero. He's a good
for me, that
man.
doesn't lead me to think that team would dethrone the Celtics in the East.
I think they're going to find this. They've got these.
I think Eric Spoelstra is a great coach. I think he's an outstanding coach.
He's been one of the best coaches.
Maybe he could help Kevin Durant with something like that, but no, I don't know. I still don't know where. In my opinion, I think he's going to get traded somewhere else. I don't think it's going to be either of those two teams. I think Brooklyn's tired of satisfying him with whatever he wants, because it's getting to the point where everything they tried has failed. Yeah. Everything.
James Harden getting him is trying to secure yourself a championship.
And everyone was like, oh, we reunite these two from Oklahoma City. and which, yeah, sure, they were.
James Harden wasn't James Harden in Oklahoma.
No, I know
That's
he
very
wasn't.
obvious.
And he wasn't even.
He wasn't
didn't
even James
start,
Harden
yeah.
this year.
No, which part of it was ever since the shutdown with the bubble, he hasn't been the same. But things are still. James Harden still has the upside of people saying, "Oh, this guy could drop 40 on you in a given night."
He could, and he showed that in one game at the end of the year. But he was slow every other game, and it's very difficult in the NBA right now. You're seeing teams that aren't 3 superstars and just role players. You're seeing the deeper teams go farther.
Mm-hmm.
You're seeing the Bucks
Boston
last year, the Celtics this year.
Yeah.
Even the Warriors right now, because Clay's not
They're
exactly...
still deep.
The Warriors are deep.
They're really
deep.
deep.
They don't have the 3 superstar caliber players.
Yeah.
And the super team has never been 3 superstars. It's been 2 superstars and a third almost superstar. Or a star, like Wade, Bosh, and LeBron. Bosh wasn't a superstar, but he was a star.
He was good. No, yeah, I know what you're saying, and obviously the Brooklyn thing, at the time when all 3 of those players were put together, they were superstars.
Yes.
Because Kyrie Irving, he had already won a championship. He was Kyrie Irving. He could score unlimited points in a game. And obviously Kevin Durant was in discussion as being the best player in the NBA.
Still is.
And James Harden had won 2 MVPs.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. I mean, the whole idea of it is, can 3 players like that mold together? And it's not. Maybe it's a spotlight issue. But I don't know if Kevin Durant, is he a huge spotlight seeker or is he just want to win?
I think it's a combination of both. And for that to happen, for 3 superstars to happen, you need one extremely unselfish superstar. And Kyrie and James Harden
not that.
And Kevin Durant are not that.
Neither. I don't know.
So that's why that doesn't work.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's why if you look at Klay Thompson with Steph Curry, those 2 together.
Yes. And Draymond.
Yeah, and Draymond. No, yeah.
All of them
even
are unselfish.
when Durant was there, obviously at the beginning, Steph Curry, like everyone knew he was really good.
Steph Curry was an MVP.
But like his mentality was, I haven't won yet, until he did.
Yeah.
And they won 2 more.
But Steph Curry's an unselfish superstar.
No, he is 100%.
You can live with one selfish superstar like Kevin Durant. I don't think you can exist with 3.
Yeah. No, and that's another reason why the Brooklyn experiment, if you only look at numbers and the availability of paychecks, which is what they had the numbers, they had the paychecks, they had the winning. They literally, all 3 of them had the winning. It's not like it was like, oh, this team's really good, but they've never really made it over the edge before. They're not experienced. No, that was never a problem. It was the coaching, and it was the players together on the court. It never worked out, and they made a run. They lost to the Bucks because Kevin Durant's foot was on the line.
Yeah.
And I mean that, things could have been different, but overall, I think Kevin Durant's going to get traded to probably a team he may not be happy with in the beginning, but
I think he has to go to a situation where he's happy, because then he won't accept the trade. Kevin Durant has the ability to say, no.
Yeah, but I don't know. He might have. I don't know, because what if Brooklyn says, we don't have anything else for you? He could just not play. He could just say, I'm not playing this year.
Or he stays in Brooklyn, which would be...
I think that's an okay situation for him. I really think that is perfectly okay. They can trade Kyrie.
And get 2 or 3 solid players.
Yeah, so the big talk was Kyrie Irving's going to get traded to the Lakers for Russell Westbrook and a package. But the Lakers head coach already said Russell Westbrook's going to be a part of this starting lineup. And so that's not happening.
It's almost impossible for the Lakers to match contracts to make salaries work. Kyrie has to bring you 2 star players if you're the Nets when you trade him. He has to. Because Kevin Durant can't get another superstar right now. You could try to get Donovan Mitchell, but Utah's not going to want to give you Kyrie unless you're giving Kyrie Irving and picks, which you don't have
because
have that. You traded James Harden for James Harden. they would accept Kyrie Irving and picks because he opted into his
Okay,
player
well,
option.
don't you
Utah
think-
would do that 100 times out of 100 if they gave up Donovan Mitchell for 1 year of Kyrie Irving and like 3 first-round picks. Utah would do that. They don't have to deal with Kyrie anymore after this
So
year.
do you think Ben Simmons has anything to do with this equation? Either being part of a package or playing next year. Do you think Kevin Durant either leaving or staying impacts him?
I think Ben Simmons will be back
With
To-
Brooklyn?
to being Ben Simmons. He's not going to be great. He's not going to be this elite three-point shooter that everyone wants him to
so,
be.
okay.
But he'll be back to being Ben Simmons. He worked well when he had another superstar caliber player with him in Joel Embiid.
Mm-hmm.
So if you keep Kevin Durant with Ben Simmons,
And
Ben
that's
Simmons
what
could be good.
that's what I was saying is if the Lakers or I'm not the Lakers, if the Nets trade Kyrie to any given destination and get something back in return, even if it's something decent along with picks, it could be a sense of you could have Kevin Durant with Ben Simmons, Seth Curry in your lineup. Like those three together, it doesn't sound awful.
No.
It really sounds like Kevin Durant could have a restart. Part of it might be the coach has to leave, though.
I think Steve Nash has to go if you want to run it back in Brooklyn. He doesn't want to run it back in Brooklyn, but if he does run it back in Brooklyn, he can't have Steve Nash.
Yep. So that is your word on Kevin Durant. As soon as we get the updates, we'll see how everything fits. And so we're gonna go to our last topic on.
Maybe one of our last weeks. I want
Okay.
to talk about Bradley Beal for a second.
Okay, yeah, you go ahead.
Washington, what are you doing? You are one of the dumbest franchises in sports history. You gave Bradley Beal the Supermax contract and a no-trade clause, which 10 players in all of history have gotten a no-trade clause.
Yeah, to
And Bradley
to
Beal.
Bradley Beal
And how much
has not proved
and
he's a winner.
What is Washington going to do next year after paying Bradley Beal $50 million?
Nothing.
Maybe make the play-in.
I think they could be like an 8 seed.
So a play-in team.
Well, okay, yeah.
So yeah,
But-
they'll
but
make
I-
the
they
they'll
can
make the playoffs
they
as an
can
8
make the
seed, and that's what
playoffs
they're
as a-
paying a guy
No,
$45
yeah,
million.
no,
to
they're
do.
not top 5
That's
in
a
the
dumb
East.
contract. Even if Bradley Beal said, "I want to stay in
What other-
Washington," that's a dumb contract because he takes less money. He can bring in another star caliber player. Bradley Beal just wants the money at this point.
What else have they done this offseason?
That's exactly. They haven't done like anything.
That's what I
this
thought.
offseason.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, what are the Wizards gonna build? Obviously, you're gonna build around Bradley Beal, but what is there?
You can't
What do they?
build,
What do they
there's-
have?
There's not much you can do around Bradley Beal. You drafted Denny Avdia,
Mhm.
who hasn't done a whole lot last year, or for the past 2 years, and then you have Roy Hachimura, who's good, but he's not star caliber even in the slightest. The Wizards don't have a functioning basketball front office, and that's been very apparent since you signed Bradley Beal to this contract, and you signed John Wall to that contract a while ago.
Yeah,
They just love giving out
they had
money.
Westbrook too.
Well, I don't think they gave Westbrook that.
No, they
contract,
didn't give him
but
a lot, but
They accepted it
they
for
were-
for
they-
the John Wall trade.
They almost did. They almost did.
The Washington Wizards are a dysfunctioning organization, and I feel very bad for anyone that's
No,
watching
yeah,
them.
you could name. There's probably there's way more teams I think in the East you could name that are better than the Wizards than there are teams worse.
You could name almost 12 better teams in the East. You could put the Pistons at this point
About
almost
I don't know better
about
even
equal to
maybe
even. But the Pistons
Maybe.
have a significantly higher ceiling at this point.
no yeah.
Cade, they just got Jaden
Yeah.
Ivey.
No, yeah. I just
Jalen
don't think
Duren,
they're
like-
there yet.
No, they're not there yet. But
It's just
you don't
not.
have a ceiling. That's your ceiling at the
No, yeah, I
most
agree.
is if Bradley Beal turns into Kevin Durant mixed with Michael Jordan mixed with LeBron, puts up 60 points a game, and you make the 5 seed.
That's
your
why. Okay,
absolute
and that's
ceiling.
why. This is another reason of why everyone was like, "Oh, after the Celtics season was, sign Bradley Beal, sign Bradley Beal."
I would have loved to sign
For
Bradley
that
Beal,
money?
not for $45 million.
No.
The Washington Wizards make absolutely no sense, and I feel bad for fans of the Wizards because sure you get to watch Bradley Beal for the next 5 years, but that's the only thing you're doing. You're not watching
Yeah.
a playoff game.
No. Okay, so the last topic, speaking of Boston, many people have talked about Kevin Durant. Will he go to Boston? He's already said that's not one of his preferred destinations. But the Celtics are a winning team. And the Celtics obviously trading for Malcolm Brogdon. And many people saying right now, including some of the coaching staff, saying he's not even going to be a starter. He's going to be bench depth. They're going to stick with their 5 they had last year unless something goes wrong. But overall, I think that's a perfect fit for this team, having a point guard like Malcolm Brogdon.
Malcolm Brogdon is a better playmaker than Marcus Smart, I feel like.
100%.
But Marcus Smart showed a lot of flashes of being a fantastic playmaker this year.
And his defense was
Malcolm Brogdon's not going to be healthy the whole year. And that's what you trade for when you're getting Malcolm Brogdon. And you're not worried about that if you're the Celtics. You just hope that injury comes as a shoulder sprain for 2 to 3 weeks at the middle of the season.
And look who they traded. They traded Tyson Nesmith.
Nesmith had potential, I thought, but I don't know if he was going to reach it.
I think it was getting too late with him. It was getting to the point where
the guy that I feel the most like I'm kind of hurt about is Malik Fitz. He's the air guitar guy on the end of the bench.
Yeah,
he was one of the most valuable players, and I feel bad that he has to leave Boston.
I think overall so far the Celtics are now one of, if not the deepest team in the league right now. I think just what they have on their bench. Especially, I think Peyton Pritchard's going to get better. I think he's going to see now that their team has gotten to that level of the finals. I think he's going to realize that he's going to have to step up to play on that level. But overall, I mean, if Tatum, who knows? He could have been hurt towards the end of the year, which is what a lot of people were saying with his shoulder or whatever. If he comes back healthy, Jaylen Brown does what he does. If they have a solid point guard coming off the bench, even starting sometimes, to work with these guys, I think it could be outstanding.
I think that's all the NBA we want to talk about.
Yeah, so that's it for
I'll
NBA.
Scroll through my notes here, see if there's anything else.
So if that is all, we're going to get back. When we come back, we're going to do an NFL preview. We're going to take about a 2-minute break, but we're going to talk about the AFC North, the AFC West, and who is the biggest threat to the Los Angeles Rams. This is the Cam and Joe Show. We will be right back with you right after this.
Welcome back to the Cam and Joe Show. I'm Cam, he's Joe, and we're talking about the NFL.
So we're going to jump a little bit into a couple of separate divisions. Obviously, right now we're about at training camp time. So one team that suffered a lot in training camp last year was the Baltimore Ravens, who obviously J.K. Dobbins got injured before the season even started, along with multiple defensive players. So right now, the Ravens technically finished in last year in their division, but this was a team that everyone was either picking for the division. Right now, they have the highest percentage of chance, according to different football reference sites, to win the division. And overall, a lot of people are still trusting Lamar Jackson, even though now that they don't have Hollywood Brown anymore. Yeah, them compared to the Bengals, what does that look like right now in that race?
I think the Bengals have them beat because the Ravens don't have very many offensive weapons at this point. They've got Lamar, and they've got Lamar. So I don't know where else they go from Lamar. They've got a solid defense.
Mark Andrews was outstanding, but he's gonna be covered a lot more this year.
So now that you could get a deep threat, and they probably do have a deep threat. I think they picked their receiver last year can be a deep threat that they picked second round.
Yeah.
But the Bengals got better.
The O-line got better, which was the biggest problem. Joe Burrow's not going to be sacked as much this year. I think Jamar Chase, maybe his numbers might not be better this year just because of the numbers he put up last year were like crazy, but I think his overall skill is going to be better. But along with T. Higgins, along with Joe Mixon, I think that team is I still think they're a Super Bowl contender 100%. I think Joe Burrow is so good. He's one of my favorite quarterbacks in the league. I would pick the Bengals to win the division, even though I'd say Ravens probably have a bit of an edge on defense. I'd say the Ravens' defense is probably better when fully healthy, but that's the main thing, is that
you can't have 4 safeties tear their ACL again.
It's not going to work like that. So I would say right now I lean towards the Bengals. I even think the Bengals have a good shot at a top 2 seed in the AFC, just because their division's kind of weak. I think especially if Deshaun Watson's not playing.
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson's not playing, then I think they beat the Browns twice. I think already they're beating the Steelers twice.
Yeah.
And I think with their matchup, with their schedule, they could be definitely a 1 or a 2 seed. I really like the Bengals going into this season.
The Bengals they've been to the Super Bowl. They've got the experience now. And now you're bringing in Alex Kappa, and then you bring in Lyle Collins on tackle. So your offensive line got 10 times to 100 times better. And you're bringing back everyone else from last year.
Mm-hmm.
Jamar Chase will probably get double teamed. T. Higgins is fantastic.
He's going to be
Tyler
really
Boyd
good.
is fantastic.
Yeah, Tyler Boyd's their 3, and he's outstanding. He could be some team's number 2, maybe number 1.
He could probably be some team's number 1.
Yeah, like the Patriots.
Yeah, so the Bengals are going to be scary, and the Ravens
I think
are going to
if you look at another team that a lot of people, I would say, are still picking to win the division because they think Deshaun Watson's going to play as the Cleveland Browns, but I'm sorry, I really don't think he might play a little, but I don't know how things are looking right now with him.
They gave him an option to take a 12-game suspension this year, and he said, no, I'm not doing that. So he's trying to fight a suspension at all. He doesn't want to be suspended at all. He probably will be.
Because of the league. The league's policy will most likely suspend him. How much time? I don't know.
That's why I think it's surprising he didn't take the 12. He's going to try to probably get it down to 6 or 8, and then he might accept the suspension.
Yeah.
But
6 sounds reasonable. I mean, I think 8, what would that get you? Like November? Probably November is when he could see him play. If things don't turn even worse for him, which there's a very big possibility that it could. So overall, Browns, if you look at
You brought in Amari Cooper.
They brought in Amari Cooper, I was just about to say. Nick Chubb, I think he was dealing with some injury problems last year.
He's so good.
He is really good. And Kareem Hunt's really good too. I think there's an argument for them being the best 1-2 running back duo in the league on one team. Their receiving core was a weakness last year. I think Amari Cooper makes it better, but obviously the quarterback will help if it is Deshaun Watson, because Deshaun Watson's a top 10, if not top 5 quarterback in the league when he's on. He's unbelievable, and that's why this whole problem has made the Browns franchise look really bad, and it could really backfire for them. Yeah. I think the trade getting rid of Baker Mayfield, I don't know how I feel about it right now. I mean, Baker may not want to have played for them anyway.
Yeah.
In that case, sure, you can get rid of the guy. But I think Baker Mayfield's going to have a pretty solid season with Carolina. I don't want to get too far into Baker Mayfield right now just because he's not part of the division. But, yeah, the division, it's a weird division when you look at it just because of how many questions there are about these teams.
They gave up the Browns for a guy that might not play for them for the first year. They gave up 3 first-round picks and more.
And they're paying him over, what, 200 and something?
5 years, $230.
Yeah.
Completely guaranteed.
All guaranteed, which is
Every
awful.
single penny is guaranteed.
Yeah, but they're trying to find ways in his contract. They're trying to find wording.
I don't think so.
They're trying to get out of it.
Do you know how good the lawyers are that work with Deshaun Watson?
No, yeah, because the federal cases are already...
The guys that went over his contract made sure there was no funny business in the language, that there was no opt-out clauses.
I'm sure.
He's getting every single one of
the Browns franchise continues to be, like, in shambles. The garbage franchise is what they've been known as in the league. And Baker Mayfield got them to their first playoff berth in, like, 18 years. He got them their first playoff win in, like, over 20-something years.
Would you say he got them? He got them.
Well, I think he was part of it.
He was part of it.
I think he was a big part of it. I don't
know if he was a big part.
I think he was. I think just because that franchise, I feel like they have disrespected him. I feel like they've underrated him a lot. Not just the franchise, but the league. I think when he's fully healthy, like last year, I do not think he was healthy.
Even close to being healthy.
And that's why I think they kind of they left him out to dry, like way too early with this kid. I think he's going to be okay. Carolina's going to have a good defense. I think he's going to make Robbie Anderson pretty good.
You've seen the Robbie Anderson stuff when he commented on Instagram like a few months back? Someone tweeted out a picture of Baker in a Panthers jersey, and Robbie Anderson just responded no.
Really?
Underneath it. So he tweeted out that he says that's all wrong and he doesn't believe that. But he did comment it.
Yeah. No, I mean...
They've got a weird QB room in Carolina.
Yeah, it'll be a quarterback competition. If I were the head coach, it's got to be Baker Mayfield. It's got to be Baker Mayfield. And the best part is that those two play week 1. Which is really cool. That's awesome.
If you saw this, the Browns are paying Baker Mayfield $500,000.
Yep. $500,000?
Yeah. In week 1.
Oh, okay.
In week 1 to try to beat them.
Yeah, just because of how the contract breakdown
works.
Yeah. And I mean, if they start Sam Darnold that game, then once again, Panthers coaching is atrocious. It was last year. If Christian McCaffrey stays healthy, which isn't likely, but it could happen. I don't know. I don't think they're a playoff team, but they could make a push at second in the division, I think, because Tampa's already the clear number 1.
The weird thing with the Panthers is you've got 3 okay quarterbacks. Baker Mayfield the best of the 3, and then you have Matt Corral just sitting there now. He's learning.
Well, Sam Darnold might get released or traded.
You hope so for him, because he doesn't want to be a third-string quarterback.
I don't think that's going to be a problem after this season.
You want him to develop at some point.
Yeah, no,
I don't
100%.
think you putting Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield ahead of him is putting him in the best spot.
No, especially Sam Darnold.
Sam Darnold. It's like not as bad, but the Titans with Tannehill, and they draft Malik Willis. Tannehill said that he's not supposed to be a mentor to him.
I know.
He's doing the Brady treatment.
Yeah.
But he's not Tom Brady.
No, he's not. Well, okay, so that's the AFC North for you, and a little bit of Panthers talk. So
we don't care about the Steelers here.
No, we're not. I hate the Steelers.
Mitch Trubisky versus...
Not a Steelers guy.
Mitch Trubisky versus Kenny Pickett's the only thing that's...
If I were them, I'm starting Mitch Trubisky.
I think you do. You let Kenny Pickett Just grow a little bit.
Yeah.
But that's the only thing you want to
But we don't care about them.
That's the only thing you talk about with the Steelers. Nobody else cares about.
Nothing.
Not even Steelers fans care about anything other than Kenny Pickett right now.
Now that Ben's gone, that's it. That's it.
Good luck, Steelers fans. Not really.
AFC West, 4 playoff teams potentially, which would be awesome.
Would be
I think that would be
thing.
so cool. I hope the Patriots make the playoffs, but that doesn't seem very.
Doubt that.
I just don't think that's happening. So I think if I were to rank those teams in that division and make a prediction right now, the worst team I think is the Broncos, but I don't want to say that because the Broncos are so young and they have such a good wide receiver core.
They were good last year. They were okay last year.
They were all right. Their defense was solid.
And they add Russell Wilson.
I know. If he's healthy,
yeah,
it's good. But the Raiders, I think, are slightly better. Slightly. I think it's really close. Devontae Adams is really good. Derek Carr's consistent. He's okay. Yeah. Great kicker, which, some people say they don't care, but I love the kicker. And then Darren Waller, really good. Hunter Renfrow, big contract, but he's still, I'm not saying worth it, but he's still he's still
probably
good.
One of the second best. He's a top 3 slot receiver in the league right now.
Yeah. And he's your number 2.
Yeah.
And Waller's your number 3. Even though he's not a wide receiver.
But he counts as a wide
number
receiver.
3rd target.
He counts.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah. So then I would say second place I'm putting the Chiefs. Then I put the Chargers in first. The Chargers defense greatly improved.
Yeah. Khalil Mack.
People can disagree with me on all 4 teams putting them in first. I would be okay with that. But I think the Chargers, I think Justin Herbert is so good. I think he's going to be a top 3 quarterback this year, potential MVP. He might be my pick to win MVP this year. I think Justin Herbert is outstanding. Keenan Allen, I think, is a great receiver. Mike Williams, I think he's okay. I think he's solid.
On a big contract.
He's a solid 2. He's overpaid. But no, the Chargers, the biggest problem with them was the defense, especially the run defense, and they added a lot.
They didn't add a ton to help their run defense.
But on defense overall.
They added a press corner, a man corner.
J.C. Jackson.
And then they added Khalil Mack, who's going to come off the edge.
Quarterback. Khalil Mack.
Still didn't do a ton to help their run defense.
Yes, but I don't know. I still think the offense is good enough for the...
offense is good enough. They were almost good enough last year. They almost made the playoffs.
They should have made the playoffs.
They just tied with the Raiders. But yeah,
Anyway, the Chiefs, I think, the Chiefs are still outstanding. The Chiefs are still going to make the playoffs, whether they win the division or finish second or even third. I think they still make the playoffs. I think Patrick Mahomes still a top 5 quarterback. He's going to be for a while. Tyreek Hill gone. Travis Kelce's going to be good. He's going to be covered a lot. I still think the Chiefs' defense, no one really talks about it, but it's okay. I still think they're just good enough to make the playoffs.
The Chiefs on offense retooled, and there's an undrafted kid that signed with the Chiefs, Justin Ross. Outstanding wide receiver for Clemson in the national championship game. And then he just had injuries. There's a good video out there that documents everything that Justin Ross has been going through. He's a number 1 wide receiver. He was a first-round caliber player this year in this draft. He's just got a weird neck thing.
Yeah.
That's been...
And if that
doesn't act up, and he doesn't get a few bad hits in the NFL...
Even if he plays limited time...
He's really good.
Yeah. The Chiefs are going to be fine. The Chiefs fans, don't worry. I think if one team has to really worry in that division...
Well, the Chiefs, I think, have the most to lose.
That's true. The Chiefs have the most to lose. I'd say the team you worry about the most is Denver, only because if something goes really wrong with Russell Wilson and another quarterback problem fails with that franchise, it will look really,
you lost all your picks.
Really bad. It would look
a ton of picks.
Really bad. Then you'd have to trade for Sam Darnold.
Then you'd probably have to trade for Sam Darnold. That would be a bad situation.
All right. So we got 2 more topics here. First, Cam wants to talk a little about the Dolphins and the idea of the Tyreek Waddle combination with Tua at the quarterback position.
Tua's never been a terrible quarterback. He hasn't been a fantastic quarterback, but he's been okay and he's been solid. Adding Tyreek Hill to that offense is fantastic. He's going to fit right in. They did a lot of short screen RPO type of action, which is a lot of what college offenses do. Tyreek Hill is going to space the whole field out, and then you can have Tyreek going. Tua can hit him.
Hopefully.
Then you have Jalen Waddle. Hopefully. Then you have Jalen Waddle coming across the field.
Yeah.
It's a deadly combination.
Yeah.
Jalen Waddle had a solid year last year. He just had a bad off. Everyone else except for him was like really bad last year.
And I think part of it was because they were one of the worst rushing teams in the league. Part of it was health. A lot of it was health. Myles Gaskin can be really good. It's just he wasn't healthy for a lot of games, and they didn't give him as many opportunities as they should have. Plus, of course, they were facing teams like the Bills who have a really good defense. The Patriots' defense last year was solid.
Won't be this year.
No. Even the Jets.
They had absolutely no corners.
No. We're not talking about the Patriots. The Dolphins ceiling in the division, I still think it's second just because the Bills are so good. Floor, I think they're third as a floor. I don't think they're not worse than the Jets at all.
Jalen Waddle will bring them to
They could definitely be better than the Patriots, 100%.
Jalen Waddle can't take the biggest step as a second-year player because he was already so good.
Yeah, he was really good.
Someone else is going to jump up, but Jalen Waddle's going to be like a whole different. You're going to see a lot more Jalen Waddle highlights. This year.
Even if Dolphins fans should not worry about Tyreek if he gets off to a slow start, only because you have that reassurance. And once Jalen Waddle his numbers start going up, they'll press him more, they'll cover him more, Tyreek will go up. It's a good problem to have if you're Miami.
I would love to have that problem as a Patriots fan.
But we don't have that problem because we just run the ball all the time.
The Jets, fantastic draft. New York had a fantastic draft.
Yeah, overall.
The city of New York.
It's about time.
Of East Rutherford, New Jersey had a fantastic draft.
Yeah,
the city of New York. New York did not have a very good draft.
No, the Knicks did not. But we're not talking about the Knicks. I want to talk
East Rutherford, New Jersey, fantastic draft.
For our last topic, just a real quick thing. Who is the biggest threat to the Rams to win the Super Bowl? One from the AFC, one from the NFC. I think it's Tampa. In the NFC. I don't think it's the Packers.
Tampa was 2 minutes away, a minute 45 away from
and Brady brought them from being in the Super Bowl. Yeah.
So you can't not do that.
No.
Even though they lost. And the Rams lost Von Miller.
If Tampa plays it right, they should be the one because they should sweep their division. Yeah. They won't because they'll probably lose to the Saints in a game because they just always lose to the Saints for some reason. But I think the Packers are going to have a tough challenge facing Minnesota. I think the NFC West is too strong that the Rams won't get the 1 seed, which I think if home field runs through Tampa, it's tough to beat Brady. It's tough to beat Brady. I think in the AFC, obviously, I'm not picking the Bills right now to make the Super Bowl.
If you remember,
I remember.
As soon as the final whistle blew.
Yeah, I said
it was going to be Rams-Bills.
Yeah.
So I'm
if I had to make one now, we're gonna do a whole predictions video once we get to the week before the NFL season. But as of right now, I'd say my prediction: Tampa in the NFC. I would probably I don't know. Part of me wants to say the Bills, but I kind of want to say the Bengals. I kind of want to say the Bengals right now. I'll say the Bengals right now. But I think as a threat, as a one-on-one team, the Bills are the biggest threat in the AFC to the Rams. That's how I'll put it.
AFC, you've got every team in the AFC West could be a threat for the Super Bowl. You've got the Bills in the AFC East. You've got half the teams in the AFC North.
No, yeah.
There's going to be a lot of people.
The AFC is outstanding.
There's a surprise happening in the AFC playoffs.
Could be the Colts.
I'm not a fan of the Colts. I'm not a fan of.
I like Matt Ryan.
Everyone likes the Colts to be the sleeper team.
You think Tennessee's still winning the division?
No, not even close.
I think the Colts are.
I think the Colts will win, but I think the Colts are going to disappoint.
I think the Colts are going to win the division and probably be the 4 seed. They'll probably be the worst division winning record.
And they'll lose in the first round because the rest of the NFL is just too talented for the Colts. The Colts are not going to keep up.
Okay.
They might be a high seed because they're going to beat the Jaguars, the Texans, and then they beat one game against the Titans, and they get the 4 seed.
They'll probably be the 3.
That's not
because the Chargers have the toughest schedule for division winners. Yeah. If we were to do it that way, the Bengals though, come on, the Bengals should. I think the Bengals could sweep their division. They'll probably lose a game to Baltimore.
Yeah,
but I think
and there'll be a bad game.
And
there'll
Bills,
be a bad game in Pittsburgh for one of those teams.
Yeah,
and it's
yeah. All right, so our last final little segment of the NFL, real quick, is just going to be a would you rather quarterback edition in the NFL. If you were to just they're both on the same team, let's say just an average level everything about this team that they're on, who would you rather have based on who is more talented as a quarterback? So the first one, who would you rather have, Joe Burrow or Justin Herbert? Coming into this year.
Justin Herbert.
I agree, but slightly. I love Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow's really good, but
I love Joe Burrow, but I'm leaning Justin Herbert.
More athleticism. He's going to hit more throws than Joe Burrow.
Yeah. Matt Stafford or Kyler Murray? Completely different types of quarterbacks.
On a completely average team.
This season.
I'm going to take Matt Stafford.
Okay. I think I agree, but it's very close.
It's close, but I don't think Kyler Murray is mature enough to lead a team to wins.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm taking the guy that went to the Super Bowl and won it.
Derek Carr, Russell Wilson.
Russell Wilson.
I agree. Derek Carr's, I think, on the same. If they're throwing same team, it's Russell Wilson.
It's Russell Wilson. He can do too much outside of the pocket. Better arm.
Baker Mayfield or Carson Wentz? I'm taking
healthy
Baker Mayfield.
Healthy
going
Baker
into
Mayfield.
this season, so probably.
I'm gonna take Baker anyway.
I'll
take injured Baker.
Yeah, I
don't
don't like Carson Wentz. I think Washington's the last place team.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson or Jalen Hurts?
Lamar Jackson?
Okay.
It's not even close,
okay.
Dude. Jalen Hurts, I like. Love Jalen Hurts, right?
Yeah, well,
Lamar Jackson is
right
a
now in
superstar
fantasy he's
quarterback.
projected to be, based on average points per game, Hurts number one.
Well, it's because Jalen Hurts runs the ball so much.
Yeah.
Because he scrambles.
Mm-hmm.
Lamar Jackson's a 100 times better quarterback than Jalen Hurts.
Okay, yeah.
And it's not even close.
Ryan Tannehill or Jared Goff?
For a completely average team, and you're not running the ball every single play, and then
you're
running
not.
play action, the answer feels like it should be Tannehill.
I'm taking Jared Goff.
I kind of like Jared Goff.
I
love the Lions this year.
I think they're going to be really good. Aramon St. Brown is going to be really
Lions
good.
Lions are not going to be good this year. Let's get that straight. Lions are not going to be good.
Well, not record-wise, but they're going to have a
very fun team to watch.
I think they're going to pull off an upset of either Green Bay. They're going to beat one of these really good teams
they're a fun
midway through the season. Swift is awesome.
DeAndre Swift, Jameson Williams is going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
Hutchinson coming off the edge. Already a bad team last year, but they got unlucky.
Matt Ryan or Mac Jones?
Matt Ryan or Mac Jones?
Yeah. I'll take Mac. Just because he hasn't been shown off enough. Because I think last year, he didn't throw very much.
I don't know what. I'm going to look up what Matt Ryan's stats were last year.
No, you can't do that. You cannot do that.
I have no clue.
That's cheating.
I have no clue what Matt Ryan did last year. And
their defense was awful.
Yeah, and he also had a fantastic tight end.
And Cordell Patterson.
He's fantastic. Are you kidding me? The top 10 running back in the league. Matt Ryan, he put up like 4,000 yards.
Who do you take? What's the first name that comes in your head when I say the two?
That's a really difficult one.
I'm taking Mac.
I'm going to take...
No bias, of course.
I'm taking the guy that... I'll take Mac Jones because I don't want the guy who blew a lead in the Super Bowl.
Yep.
I'll take the guy that hasn't been to the Super Bowl
yet.
And
then, of course, the classic question, Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen?
Mahomes has the playoff experience.
I'm taking Mahomes. Just because less risk of injury with this guy.
Josh Allen might be the better quarterback right now, and it's very
based
close.
On what he can do, but I think Mahomes
has that it factor.
Okay, so
really like.
That will wrap up this section of the Cam and Joe show. We're going to have our final little segment of the MLB of just our headlines up to this point. So we will be right back in a couple of minutes to wrap up our last few minute section of the MLB. So, see ya.
Searching for music for your next video?
Turn that down.
Welcome back to the Cam and Joe Show. We're talking about baseball now. Baseball, baseball.
One of the greatest games of all time.
America's pastime, actually.
So we're going to just basically do two headlines that we've each come up with. One for an American League team, one for a National League team. It could be focused on one player, it could focus on the whole team as itself, a prediction, a take, what we like, what we don't like. So I'll start off with an NL team. I'm going to say the Mets. And a lot of people would think, oh, okay, let's talk about the positives. I'm going to talk a little bit about positive and negative. Positive about the Mets. Best record in the NL. And they are in first place without a healthy Max Scherzer until this past week. Without a healthy Jacob deGrom at all this year.
Probably in a little bit. They'll get one.
He'll be back within the next couple weeks. But they are still in first place, up by 3.5 on Atlanta. Here's the negative about that. The same thing happened last year and they blew it. Sure, they didn't have Max Scherzer, but this year they were up by like 12 games. It was double-digit lead in the division at the end of May.
They had Jacob deGrom last year.
And they had...
And then they lost him, and then they fell apart.
Yeah, he got hurt, and then they fell apart. If Jacob deGrom comes back, sure, I think that'll boost them, but...
Atlanta's really good.
Atlanta looks really good. Best record in the MLB since the start of June is the Atlanta Braves. And I think... I'm not saying I think the Braves are winning the division, but they were my pick to win it at the beginning of the year and my predictions. And I'm just saying, watch out, Mets fans, because if the Braves are number one at the end of the season, don't be surprised. That's all I have to say, because it seems like this has happened for the past 3 years.
My National League take. Paul Goldschmidt. Been fantastic this year.
Phenomenal player.
Came back from out of nowhere. And he's an MVP candidate again. So, shout out Paul Goldschmidt.
That was a fantastic trade from Arizona, which a lot of people forget about. Paul Goldschmidt from Arizona. But he was on a pretty bad team for a while.
Yeah.
And even last year when the Cardinals made their run and won like 18 in a row or whatever, he really wasn't a big impact. No. It was more of the pitching. And like him giving a boost, them and the Brewers are going to have a really good race coming down to the end, because there's a good chance that whichever team doesn't win that division's not getting the wild card.
Yeah.
So for my AL take, I'm centering in on the Astros a little bit, but specifically on Jeremy Pena, the rookie shortstop who was recently injured, but he's on his way back. But he's been healthy all year. And overall, based on what Correa did at this point of the year last year, he is doing better. It has been an improvement at shortstop for the Astros this year. And the Astros have faced a lot over the past 3 years based on the scandal with the sign stealing and everything. But for them to recover and putting Dusty Baker in that spot, they made the World Series last year with Correa, and it seems like they lose these players and then they just get replaced. George Springer left. Carlos Correa left. Garrett Cole left. Their rotation is still unbelievable.
Justin Verlander's having a fantastic
Justin Verlander's back from injury last year. He did not even pitch, and they still made the World Series. He right now might be AL Cy Young, up there with like Shane McClanahan.
Yeah.
But overall, Jeremy Pena, outstanding season. 31 runs driven in on 12 home runs, a .472 slugging, doing better than Correa in all those categories. His strikeout rate is down, and he has not made a lot of errors at shortstop. I think that kid has a bright future. And I think the Astros are very, very good, and they're going to make a deep run, in my opinion.
When you talk about American League teams, there's one team that comes to mind, and it's the Yankees. The Yankees are the best team in the American League. I don't want to touch on the good stuff. Good stuff, sure, walk-offs, whatever.
The bullpen is the good stuff.
Bullpen's the good stuff. Aaron Judge is the
when
front
healthy
runner for AL MVP, but he is very close with Rafael Devers.
Let me tell you something, though, about Aaron Judge sorry, but let me just tell you something. He's not going to win MVP because Shohei Ohtani's pitching. That's what, he's not going to win MVP. And it's going to happen again and again. And it happened first when he won Rookie of the Year when Gleyber Torres should have won it. He was a better hitter.
Torres has been fantastic.
Gleyber Torres was a better hitter than Shohei Ohtani his rookie year. Shohei Ohtani pitched very limited innings. He still won MVP because he pitches at a rate that is like a number 2 in the rotation. This year he's pitching better than last year.
Yeah. So Shohei Ohtani probably will win MVP, but he's not getting the buzz right now because
No,
they
he's
don't
not.
want they don't want to pick up the Shohei agenda until like the very end.
Because
And
the
then
Angels aren't
then they'll
very good.
Then he'll fly off.
He
Everyone
could
will
get
be talking
traded
about Shohei. He
within the
won't.
next 2 years.
Next 2 years maybe, but I don't know if
They
I see
shouldn't.
that.
But
Gleyber Torres has been fantastic. He's come back. He's almost leads the league in walk-off hits this year, which is insane. Since 2015, he's almost leading the league in walk-off hits.
yeah,
Aaron Judge, fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Donaldson, never been a big fan of Donaldson, but he's been solid.
he's been okay. Yeah, he plays third pretty well.
Saw that the Yankees were almost on the verge of making a trade with the Pirates for Brian Reynolds. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't want to break up the mojo that the Yankees have got going.
Would he play outfield?
He plays center field. Aaron Hicks is
Yeah,
not an everyday center
that's-
fielder.
okay.
I don't like Aaron Hicks at all. Joey Gallo also needs to figure out how to put a bat on a baseball.
No, yeah,
Unlike a toddler. But the Yankees starting to slow down. The Red Sox are a very hot team. And it's not sustainable what they did over the past 2 months. It's not even close. Garrett Cole's been solid. He's been Garrett Cole, which is surprising, except for when he plays the Red Sox. And that's almost the only games Yankees fans care about, is the Red Sox games. So Garrett Cole needs to be better against the Red Sox, specifically Rafael Devers. And the Yankees just need to consistently win. They do this every year, except for this year's been the highest of highs. They'll slow down as soon as it gets just before the All-Star break, take a while for them to pick back up, and they might not even get 100% by the end of the year, and they'll probably be a wild card team.
No, they're gonna win the division. It's like a 13-game
They've got a big
lead.
lead, but I don't think you realize how quickly things go wrong. with the
No,
Yankees.
they're gonna win the division.
Judge, okay, think about this. Judge gets injured.
Okay, you can't just put these ideal scenarios
This
going
is not
right
an
now.
ideal scenario.
Wait
This is
till
a realistic.
I'm not
okay,
ideal, not ideal.
Okay,
These imaginary hypothetical
Stanton
scenarios.
gets injured.
Sure,
it's
that
going to
okay.
happen, right? That's
Okay,
almost
yeah,
guaranteed.
yeah, that one, yeah.
He's not done a whole lot.
I think
The
it'd be
pitching
more
staff-
likely that Judge goes into a strikeout slump than he gets injured.
Joey Gallo continues to not.
He doesn't do
continues
anything
to not
anyway.
hit the ball.
I think their bullpen's too good. I think unless
They need-
relievers start getting injured again, I don't know. I think their rotations. I wouldn't say their rotation's
need to-
elite. It
that's
just
what
looks good
they
because
need to get
Yeah.
to the bullpen. Starters can't have bad outings, and the Yankees have gotten very lucky
Well,
with
that's
Jordan
the thing with
Montgomery
the Red
outings. They've gotten
Sox.
good with Talion outings. They've gotten good outings out of guys.
okay, yeah.
If they don't get to the bullpen, they're going on a
But with the
big
Red
slog.
Sox, though, they literally haven't had a healthy starting rotation in over 2 months, and they're still playing
They're
the best
finding
they
ways.
have.
Exactly. That's what scares me. The Yankees can't go on any sort of slump because the Red Sox, the Yankees go on a 5-game losing streak. It's from a 13-game lead to, at bare minimum, like a 10-game lead because the Red Sox will jump right back up. It might be an 8-game lead.
Yeah, the Red Sox need to get their starters back. I think they're either going to trade for a first baseman like Josh Bell, kind of like they did with Kyle Schwarber last year, or they're going to trade for a relief pitcher. I think the rotation's good enough where they don't need another like Frankie Montas type of guy, and I don't think they would do that anyway just because they don't want to spend any more money. I think they're going to trade for a reliever. He'll probably be some nobody who turns into having an outstanding second half
Yeah.
because that's how it always works
Then
with
it'll
that
be
guy.
a conversation for is he the reliever of the year? And it'll be no, he doesn't qualify. But
Yeah.
He'll have that good of a second half.
Yeah, no, because that's what happened with Robles last year when they required him. He was like the Twins' 8th inning dude, and he wasn't even that good. And then he was elite with the Red Sox up through the playoffs. This year he's been awful when they released him. So I mean, like that's just how the up and downs go with these types of
That's
guys.
baseball.
That's baseball.
Baseball. Shout out Jose Trevino.
And
Love
okay,
that guy.
Whatever. So next week we're going to be doing a mostly MLB based subject based on trade deadline predictions because we're getting to about like the weekend. Well, at that point it'll be like a week and a half away the trade deadline. So that is going to wrap it up for now. Thank you all for tuning into our first episode. We will hopefully be able to take your calls next week. It'll be around 2 to 2:30 Eastern time on Friday. Remember to check your Instagram if you missed any of this episode or if you don't want to watch through the whole thing, which I probably should have said at the beginning. But anyway, you can follow us on Instagram at JoeShiesty1213 and at CamDrippin.
Make sure to follow the podcast at Cam and Joe Show.
Mm-hmm.
Clips on Instagram Reels. Might be some shorter 15, 20-minute segments on YouTube. Any final words?
No, I think we wrapped up everything we wanted to say. I'm thinking if I were to say something, where's Kevin Durant going? Say a team.
The Suns.
The Suns? Okay, I'm not saying anything about this because signing off for now.
Go Sun.